Hey, what's going on, everybody? Coming to y'all from my YouTube channel, True Greatness. Definitely thank you for those who have subscribed. Definitely subscribe if you haven't. View, comment, share this video, share my other videos. Let me know what you think. So the last few videos, I've done have been focusing on Ben Simmons and the Ben Simmons saga with the Sixers and that whole situation. I'm gonna take a break from that. Not saying I won't come back. So I'm gonna take a pause because right now really there's nothing going on. It's just a standstill, and he's home, and the Sixers haven't found a trade partner and all that stuff. So I'm gonna leave that to the side just for now. So I'm gonna talk about a recent movie I saw, Spider-Man: No Way Home, and I know millions. I haven't checked the latest numbers, but I'm pretty sure billions have seen it, but definitely millions. So I wanted to give my review of the movie. I saw it when it first came out, so this is now was December 17th was when it dropped, so I saw it that same weekend, that Saturday. And yes, I will drop some spoilers for those who haven't seen it, who are thinking about it, or who, you know, are going to see it at some point but just haven't yet. Just to give that heads up. So, first thing first, what do I overall give the movie? I overall give the movie a B plus for a few reasons. A, it met all the nostalgia points, meaning it had all three Spider-Mans in the movie towards the end of the movie in the big, villain fight scene. That being Tobey Maguire, that being Andrew Garfield, and then obviously Tom Holland. Just a side note, I really didn't care for the Amazing Spider-Man, but which had Andrew Garfield in it. But no question, just having all three of them, gave nostalgia points to the franchise and people who like as a whole the Spider-Man franchise from the Tobey Maguire ones to where we are now with Tom Holland. So it did that. It also teased some other villains that were in either the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie or the Amazing Spider-Man or the Tobey Maguire, plus the ones that we already knew that were coming back in this movie, like Dark Odd, Green Goblin, and, Electro, and the ones that were already Sandman and so on and so forth that were already in this one. But it teased Rhino, and a few other villains as well. At the end of the movie, like I said, I'm gonna throw some spoilers out there. At the end of the movie, when Doctor Strange is trying to figure out how to stop all the villains from coming back in, and if he didn't do something, they all were, and the sky was opening up, and you saw these shadows. You saw reflections of possible other villains that had not been introduced to the live-action Spider-Man movies that possibly can be in the next Spider-Man movie, whenever that is, if they do another one, or if they eventually do the Sinister Six movie. Now, these villains are introduced in obviously the Spider-Man cartoons, the comics, all that, but some of them, like Kraven the Hunter, technically Scorpion, there's a few others that have not yet been introduced into the live action Spider-Man movies, either the Tobey Maguire, the Andrew Garfield, or the Tom Holland. So again, it gave you that nostalgia feeling, excuse me. So that also doing that was also why it brought excitement to the movie as well. So it hit all three Spider-Man thing in there, and then also kind of teasing some villains that not yet have been introduced into the live action. I gave it points for that as well. The other thing why I thought it was good, just in general, was very good action. The story writing I thought was good. It brought in that dilemma. You saw Tom Holland Spider-Man really have to get into a situation where he had a hard choice to make. Being the hero, or because of one of the villains killing Aunt May, kind of just letting them die. So it was that in the midst of the emotion, in the midst of do I want to get revenge or do I not? I'm dealing with this pain, someone that I lost, that I love, that was killed by this villain, and I have this opportunity to either let them live or let them die, or do it at his own hands. So just to kind of getting into those emotions and things of that nature was brought in as well. Like I said, it was fun as well. Definitely, had his comedic or attempted comedic spots, because Jamie Foxx with this Electro definitely brought more in the comedy with this Electro than he did when he was in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. He was way more serious in that one. In this one, it was a little bit more lighthearted. And then I just thought the way he portrayed Electro as like that villain you don't want to mess with, but you saw the kind of the funniness in spots, I thought was also fun as well. And then he really got serious, towards that big last fight scene. But before that, you saw the sort of comedic relief here and there. So it had the somewhat comedic relief art attempts. Like I said, it was entertaining. There's a lot of action, good amount of action, I should say. Good story. You saw MJ and Spider-Man's story evolve, but this version of MJ and Spider-Man's story kind of come into fruition and grow in comparison to the one that was with Tobey Maguire, MJ. And so yeah, I thought it did that well. Like I said, it touched on those kind of fan spots, to a certain extent. And if it's, and personally, I don't mind it being a long movie if it's something I enjoy. So overall, I enjoyed it. Did it fully meet my expectations? No. Barely was off of my expectations, simply because of, and it might seem kind of trivial to some people, but it was important to me as far as like what I was looking for. The only reason why it didn't reach an A to me is because, and I'm gonna give another spoiler for those who didn't see Venom: Let There Be Carnage, which was the Venom that just dropped this October. The end scene, teased Venom being in this one and being in this Spider-Man, and the fact that he was not, and then the only time you saw Venom end scene, or him being in the movie at all, was the end scene of this, was when the symbiote got out of Eddie Brock, or Tom Hardy, who played him, and then it was just like on this table because he was in the Caribbean somewhere or some island. So I'm thinking that's meaning Tom Hardy's no longer going to play Venom and they're going to find somebody else, or I don't know what, or are they finally going to do a Sinister Six? So I thought this movie kind of would have answered more of those questions, this Spider-Man. Sort of like the Amazing Spider-Man attempted to do, and made it very clear that they were going to try to do that, but after the second Amazing Spider-Man got just bombed for the most part. The first Amazing Spider-Man actually did good, even though I didn't really like it, and the second one didn't do good at all, really. So they kind of scrapped this, they scrapped the Sinister Six and then recast the Spider-Man. So this one I thought would have made it more leading to showing that that's going to happen, and it really didn't. And then again, you tease Venom at the end credits of Venom: Let It Be Carnage, and then you don't bring him into this one. So it was just like, and I know, yes, obviously the production and all that stuff was wrapped up well before these movies were released into theaters. So I don't know why they just didn't do that when they had the chance. So that I was kind of like, oh man, because I like Tom Hardy's Venom. Though he's obviously more comedic, than if you look at I never read the comics, but if you watch the cartoons, and that's a lot of my references I get from the cartoons, especially when I was a kid in the 90s and watching the Spider-Man cartoon during the weekdays and on Saturdays, and then, then it just, stayed during the weekdays. Venom really wasn't necessarily funny and didn't really try to be, sort of, not really. Whereas with Tom Hardy, you can see that they've obviously intentionally tried to make Venom kind of a little bit more funnier or a little bit funny and kind of a little more lighthearted, sort of. As far as like his general character, with the exception of obviously him always wanting to eat people, more specifically bad guys. But that's more so because of how that was part of his health system to eat flesh to stay fully energized. That's a whole nother side note. So, with Venom not being in this Spider-Man, and I was looking for it, I was like, oh, come on. Because the last time we saw Venom in a Spider-Man movie, in my opinion, which was Spider-Man 3, it was terrible. It wasn't a good representation. It was just a bad version of Venom, and that whole Spider-Man 3 was just bad. It wasn't written well at all. So everything led up to that, I thought. There was little, trinkets and stuff like that. And he wasn't there, and I was just like, and then the end cut scene was just like, or end credit scene, excuse me. I was just like, yeah, this didn't really. All it did was left questions of who's going to, I'm thinking, it's looking like who's going to be the next Venom. And now is that going to be who's going to be in, if they do another Spider-Man, or if they do eventually a Sinister Six. So though that's why I docked it from being an A, but everything else fit what I expected. It had enough action, it had enough story, it had its comic relief. You saw character growth between all three characters. Tom Hardy's portrayal of Spider-Man, Zendaya's portrayal of MJ, and sort of the new MJ, and then Ned. I forget Ned's the actor's real name, but the character name is Ned, and the growth. So you saw all that develop. So it kept my attention. It's definitely worth watching. I think you'll have a good time with it. Then you'll laugh, possibly. Definitely enough entertainment value, and that character dilemma, true dilemma, came out as well, which I thought was pretty good too. So that's my evaluation of Spider-Man No Way Home. Like I said, B plus, so essentially 2 thumbs up. Definitely 2 thumbs up. But check it out if you can. Like I said, I think it's worthwhile. But that, like I said, overall, and then I will also say this real quick before I end. My expectations were so high, it probably wasn't going to meet it no matter what, to a certain extent, of what I thought it was going to be. But it still was worth a watch, and it still was a very good movie. Like I said, that one little element just kind of was like, I missed that, and that made me, like I said, just dock it a little bit. But overall, check it out. Thank you again. Definitely subscribe, view, comment, and especially on this video as well. If you did see Spider-Man No Way Home, what did you think? Let me know. If you didn't see it yet but are thinking about it, let me hear, kind of your overall view of what the Spider-Mans have been to this point, specifically the Tom Holland ones, or if you want to talk about the other two as well, that's fine too. The Andrew Garfield ones and the Tobey Maguire ones, that's as well. And quick side note, by the way, Spider-Man 2 is my favorite Spider-Man of all of them. Tobey, like I said, I didn't really like the Andrew Garfield ones anyway, and then Tom Holland movies. But yeah, and then hopefully hear from y'all soon about, with those comments, and looking forward to seeing those comments. And again, thank you for viewing this video, and looking forward to more subscribers. And y'all take care.